Hi, everyone, and welcome back. It's Krista and Cassie again, and we're here to talk about ADHD this week because all of our kids have it. So we thought it would be a good place to start. So, Cassie, if you want to start, you could start. You could go first.
Sure. So, this week we're doing ADHD, and as many people I think know, ADHD is one of the most common neurodevelopmental disorders in childhood. Typically is diagnosed early in childhood and will last into adulthood. A lot of misconceptions about ADHD is the first thing that comes to mind, I guess, would be your kid never sits still.
Yes, that's the first one.
Is a motor mouth.
Yes.
You hear a lot of,
Yep.
What they don't tell you about ADHD is it's more than not stop talking and movement. It's temper tantrums and it's moodiness.
Yep.
And it's not following through with things.
Yes.
Not getting along with other children.
Yep.
Not being able to share.
Yep.
It really shares a lot of symptoms as autism.
Yes.
It's definitely one of those things that are on the spectrum.
Oh,
as
yeah.
they call it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So,
yeah, I kind of call it like slapping a Band-Aid on, as they say, because there's so many kids out there that are diagnosed with ADHD that they think it's just ADHD, and it could be autism as well. So that's why you got to kind of be careful and just pay attention with your kids, because you never know. Yeah.
And I think, for both of us, for me, Bryson has ADHD, but he's also being evaluated for autism because the symptoms are so similar that without that big evaluation that they do for autism, it's very hard to distinguish what is what.
Yeah, it is. And that's why a lot of times with our kids, like, we didn't know until, they all basically just got diagnosed with autism the past few years. So it's been the past 2 years that they've been, just ADHD, it's ADHD. And then we were seeing other things happening. And then I was like, wait a minute, and even the therapist that comes here once a week, she was like, I think they need to be evaluated for autism, Krista. And I was like, okay, so of course, you got to go through your doctor first because of insurance and all that stuff, and get the referral and all that. So that's how we went about it. But like you said, it's different everywhere with getting that evaluation alone. It's not easy. I know a lot of people, it's very difficult, because you just showed me that video, which I think that we should link that video in our description that you showed me, because I thought that was so eye-opening. And it brought chills when I watched it, literally. And I know we're talking about ADHD, but I just wanted to say that because I saw my kid in a lot of those kids, watching that.
I see Bryson in a lot of that myself. And he's not really diagnosed with autism yet. As a mother in my heart, I know.
Yeah,
Right, like I can tell.
Yes.
But Bryson was evaluated for autism at 2 years old. And, I noticed things in the way, like, my kid's not talking.
Right.
He's still pointing and just kind of making noises when he wants things.
Yeah.
He's over 2 years old. He should be able to say some words.
Oh, yeah.
Or identify some things, and he just wasn't there.
Right.
And I brought that up to the doctor, and they did this evaluation. And they're like, I think he's just a little delayed, but he'll get there.
Yeah.
And he did, but he was, 3.5 before he was actually even just doing 4 or 5 word sentences.
Right. Yeah.
And it was frustrating as heck for him because he knew what he wanted to say.
Right.
It just wasn't coming out.
Yeah. And that causes a whole bunch of other problems when they can't communicate with you, because then they're getting frustrated and you don't know why.
Right.
You don't know why.
Yeah, we were almost to preschool by the time he really was able to communicate well.
Right.
As his mom, I could I picked up on little things
Right.
and was able to understand him, but people around him absolutely could not.
Yeah.
And and you would always get the comments like, "Oh, you should be talking by now." And like, everybody develops differently, obviously.
Oh,
We
yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
But, I'm like, my kid's clearly frustrated.
Right.
And I think that, now he's 12. So now this is 10 years have gone by since his first evaluation.
Right.
And now he has to do it all over again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's 12 years old. He has conformed himself
Right.
to his surroundings.
Right.
So how are we going to do this evaluation?
Yeah.
When he is smart enough to know how he should be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like a tough thing.
It's even harder when you're older.
And autism mimic each other.
Yeah, they do. Yep.
I want to make sure my kid's going to get the correct diagnosis.
Right.
So that, if he is diagnosed with autism, our therapy completely changes.
Yes. Yes, it does. Yeah, absolutely. Because it changed for us with our therapist. I mean, everything changed. And when I got that diagnosis, the only one out of all my kids that was young enough, I think, was Shay, because she is my youngest. She's 7, but she got diagnosed a year ago when she was 6. So that was good for her because, but Shay had more difficulty with speech and with her, oh my gosh, I just lost it. She had speech and she also had to do occupational therapy. So she had to do 2.
Yeah.
She had to do both of them, where Lillian only had to do speech as well. So the 2 of them had to do it, where Elijah didn't have to do either because he was so advanced with his speech and his, Elijah was talking way too soon. He was just one of those kids. Either they're talking too soon or they're taking too long. It's, you know what I mean?
Right.
So you just don't know. But yeah, that's the only thing. But like I was saying, it's like slapping a Band-Aid on some of these kids is saying, oh, they have ADHD, and then it gets dropped. And then these kids grow up and they get older and they become 18 years old. And then it's so much more difficult to deal with it then when they could have been getting that therapy all them years. They could have prepared them for when they're 18 and they're going to college,
I think about that all the time for Bryson, and I feel so bad because I've mentioned, Bryson's been at 2 different facilities for therapy, and when we moved about 20 minutes south from where we were, we had to switch, and we started seeing a new psychiatrist. And just as we got to know that one and we got to know Bryson, they left. So we've been through 3 or 4 psychiatrists, and now we finally have one that finally was like, I think you're right. I think he may have autism and not just ADHD.
Yeah, that's good though.
If we would have listened to me through all of these years of going, he could be on a way different path than
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that's so frustrating. And I think about how many other people are out there
that are going through
the same thing. They know, and you sit there and you tell your doctors, no, I think you're wrong. And because they're doctors, they don't want to hear it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so annoying.
Until you find that right one. Yeah, until you find that right one. And that was, for us, the doctor that we were seeing, like you were saying that you had to switch, the same thing happened to us. Ours retired, and she was seeing them since the beginning, since foster care, she was seeing them before we even adopted them. And she even was seeing the mom who was their mom, she was seeing her too. So she knew the whole, family dynamics and everything. And she knew that their siblings had autism, that it ran in the family besides. And she still never said, go send them for an autism evaluation. Never mentioned it to us.
They have more siblings?
Oh,
that are also autistic?
Yes. We have Chloe and Zoe's has older brother and sister who both have autism and both have schizophrenia.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that was genetically passed
down.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely. And Chloe's biological father, his 2 sons both have autism as well.
Okay.
So, and I don't know if there's any more. I couldn't tell you.
Speaking of genetics, I feel like, speaking of genetics,
Yeah.
there's another misconception about ADHD. Um, when I first started researching it, when Bryson was diagnosed, it was saying things like it's caused by their environment or abuse from their parents. And I'm like, no.
No,
Like,
that's not true.
we have a very standard household, and it really bothered me reading like reasons why they think kids get it.
Yep, that's
Because
not it.
anybody who's new to ADHD and has to read that,
Yep.
I feel for them because
Yep.
I felt like such a crap mother. I'm like,
Yep.
is it something that
Is
I'm
this something we're doing? Yeah.
that is causing this?
Yep.
But, when you meet with like, not Google.
Yeah, right.
not
Google's
Dr.
a bad
Google,
thing. Yeah.
and
Yeah, sometimes it is.
you talk to a real psychiatrist, they will tell you that 9 times out of 10, kids get it from a parent.
Yes. Yep. That's what we were told.
So,
and because that's what I was doing. I was looking it up. I was trying to find out everything there was about it. And then when I'm reading all this stuff, I'm like, well, I didn't actually give birth to them. So and like their parents, they had their things, but I've had them since they were babies. They were 6 months old when I got them. Elijah was 4 days old right from the hospital. So, it wasn't like they were around them because they weren't. So, I mean, the only one that was Chloe because she was 2 years old, but she barely remembers, and it's just like they weren't around that. So that's why I was like, everybody was like, you have to stop thinking like that because that's not it. It's just something their parents were probably going through it. They were born with it. Their parents were born with it. Even to today, my husband says, I think I have ADHD. And his mother says it. I think I have ADHD. I mean, seriously, because now they look at it and they see our kids and they see how, and he sees our kids in the way they are. And he's like, I have so much of everything that it says here. I deal with it as an adult. Imagine if I would have known that when I was a kid,
Right. Well, yeah, my brother and sister both have ADHD, and they were diagnosed until they were over the age of 18.
Yeah.
Because again, back when I was a kid and they were kids, not really talked about, not really even put in a thought. It was always just like this behavior. Yeah. And whether the kid was struggling silently or not because they were embarrassed, because,
yeah,
it's something that a lot of kids reflect on about themselves.
Yeah. And it's really hard.
I'm different.
Yeah. Am I different?
And I don't know why I'm different. And parents back in those days were like, no, this is what kids your age do.
Right.
Or
it was called something else.
That she's diagnosed. Yeah.
Those
she's
mean
diagnosed
words.
now, and she thinks back to her childhood and she's like, man, if I could have gotten help when I was younger, I'd be a totally different person today.
Yeah. It's just that our parents, though, they didn't know enough about it back then. So,
right.
It's sad because there was probably so many. I mean, like we were talking last week saying how much the autism has gone up in numbers. How many kids are getting more and more diagnosed? Because there's more and more awareness about mental illness. There's more and more stuff going on in the schools. There's more and more things happening all over around us in this world, and you can see it. Yes. And it's like, that's why I say it's better to be safe than sorry with your kids. I like if now with my kids, knowing everything that's going on with them, and now that they are stable, sorta, I mean, they're never going to be 100% okay. Who is? I'm not even 100% okay. But if I can get them to the point where they can go to college and have a good life and have kids and get married and do all these other things, they can be like everybody else. It's just being able to get them on the right medication and get them on the right path so that they can be successful, and they can make it in life and learn how to, not get crazy out in public or, do these things that are just absolutely crazy right now. And it's because of, you as a parent, that's our job, is to make sure that, our kids are going to be okay, even though they have these things wrong with them. It's just the way it is.
And you look at all the school shootings and these mass shootings everywhere, 90% of those are because it was untreated mental
Yep.
illness.
Yep. Yep.
Because these are kids that probably were like us growing up, and it wasn't talked about. It was like, you're fine. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with you, just dramatic, or,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
things that you hear.
Yep.
If
Absolutely.
they would have gotten the therapy and meds that they needed, that could have been prevented. And
Oh
that's the
yeah.
problem in our country is nobody wants to talk about
No.
what mental illness can do.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Like
it's really hard.
it takes you out of your body.
Yes, it does. And it's really hard because at least like me and you, we're talking every week and we're talking to everybody out there trying to get the word out, you know, but before I started talking to you, and we got to know, we're cousins, but we didn't like know, each other like
Right.
that. And like, we were like, oh my God, we have so much in common. Your kid has this, my kid has this. And we were like going through the same stuff. And that's why it was like, that's why we wanted to do this, because I think it needs so much to be talked about. And I don't know why people
Yeah.
are so afraid to talk about it. You shouldn't be ashamed of it. It shouldn't be something that you should be ashamed
Yeah.
of. Your kids shouldn't be ashamed. I mean, I know there's a lot of bullying going on out there, with kids and stuff too. So that's why parents don't like to, find things out about their kids because they're afraid they're going to get picked on, but it's just, I think that if they talked about it more at the schools and brought more awareness to the situation on
Yeah.
kids and the different ways that there wouldn't be the bullying either. I mean, as much.
No. But what I've never understood is they have health class. Why isn't that a
Why
topic in
isn't it
health
a
class?
topic? Exactly. Yep.
They talk about sex ed and, the reproductive
Yep.
system and the body parts
Yep.
and whatever.
Why can't they talk about
Mental
mental
health is
health?
health.
Yep.
Why is it not talked about? You realize how many more kids, if they knew like there's kids struggling because they had this, and this, they would be so much more empathetic
Oh,
and
yeah.
understanding.
Absolutely.
And when it resort to being like, oh, that kid's just really bad or that kid's just really weird,
Yep.
like there's no understanding of how mental health works for kids
Nope.
because they're not educated.
They're not.
Parents just dismiss it. They don't want to tell their kids about it.
Yep. They don't
It's
want to
so
talk about it.
frustrating.
Yeah, it is. It's very frustrating. And just like that one kid, I don't remember which one it was, but so excuse me if I forgot, but one of the mass shootings, one of the parents actually came forward on the Today Show, I believe it was, and they talked about it was their child who did it. And they talked about how they were getting he was getting help. He was on medication. People used all this stuff, and that's the only reason why they came forward, because they were like, look at, we did everything we were supposed to do as a parent. Sometimes you can do everything in your power, and it doesn't matter, because sometimes that kid is just going to do what they're going to do, and they're going to run the wrong path, and they're just going to end up, and there's nothing we can do about it. And there's nothing those parents could have done to change
Right.
it.
But could some people in the community have been better?
Probably.
Parents may have been able to be doing everything they were supposed to do and taking their kid to the doctor and giving them on meds and getting them to therapy. But was the community educated about it? Did they spot the red flags with this kid? Or did they just say, that kid's weird?
Yep. That's what they did. And it was, and that's probably what made them do it. I mean, think about it. Only so much, if a kid has even anxiety, if a child has anxiety and they're in school and they're being picked on over and over and over again, there's only so much that kid's going to take, and
Right.
because, I mean, the ones who have the anxiety are the ones that usually don't fight back because,
Right.
they're so like in that,
Mm-hmm.
to themselves. I mean, that's how my kid is that has anxiety. Zoe, she totally like, she gets her feelings hurt like that. I mean, she'll
Yeah.
cry like at anything. But yeah, but like that's what I'm saying. Like even these kids that, if they're in school and the teachers should like have something like, I don't know, like I have at my house, I'll have to bring it the next time we meet next week. I have these little charts and they have Velcro on them. You could make them yourself. You can laminate them yourself. You could print things out on your printer, laminate them, stick them up on my kids use them. You take it and you put the card up And the kid will tell me if they're mad, sad, angry, especially Elijah. If he's feeling like he's about to blow up, and have one of his rants, he goes and grabs it, puts it up there, and shows me because he don't want to say the words. He just wants me to know, I'm at my boiling point, Mom. So you need to be aware because I'm about to blow up.
Some kids can't communicate that.
Yeah.
They can't verbally say.
So it is good.
Right now.
Yes, it works. So if I give anybody advice out there, I would say to get them. You can print them online. They have them. Google it. You could print them out on your printer, laminate it, get a couple of those, whatever you call it, Velcro strips, stick it on there, have little cards with different, kids on there with a happy face, a sad face, an angry face, frustrated, all the goofy face, anything. Yeah. I mean, we laugh about it too sometimes because we have silly face on there, and they'll go up there and they'll just put it up there.
Being older, we do a hand signal.
Yep, that's good.
When he's had enough.
Yep.
He does this.
That's perfect.
Right? And this can mean any emotion that he might be feeling. And that's my cue to say, oh, okay, something's going on. Same at school. He's supposed to do it at school. If he feels like he's going to explode, he needs to get out.
Yeah.
And then usually we'll go and be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, what are we feeling? Like, are we going to explode? Or are we mad? And that's something a lot of people don't realize about ADHD too, is you get these real quick mood swings.
Yep.
And it could be triggered by something that seems super dumb to us.
Yeah.
Like Bryson is often triggered about me waking him up for school.
Yeah, see? Simple things. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's how Elijah is too.
Time to go to bed. Instant trigger.
Yep.
Or no more snacks. That's a trigger.
Yep.
And it seems ridiculous to everyone around, but that's a big deal for him.
Yep. That's how it is with Elijah too.
It's so frustrating for him.
Yeah.
And impulse control. That's a big thing people don't understand about ADHD. Bryson's impulse is ridiculous. If he thinks I need to do this, even if you've told him this isn't appropriate, you can't do this, or this is dangerous,
right?
You can't do this.
Right.
Something in his brain is I hear what you're saying, but I have to do it anyway.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For instance, school, they have an elevator, right? He sees this elevator. He's like, I gotta ride that elevator. He puts it in his head.
He has to ride it.
Yeah. Everyone's like, no, Bryson, that's not what that elevator is for. It's for people who can't use the stairs.
Right.
It's for staff to bring lunches up and whatever.
Right.
Soon as he was alone in that hallway, where do you think he went?
To the elevator.
To that elevator. And he rode that elevator door opened. Guess who's standing there?
Oh, boy.
The principal.
Oh, no.
And I have to explain to her, I don't know what to tell you.
He wanted to ride the elevator.
Yeah. You don't want him to ride the elevator. You better have somebody go with him then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's going to do it. If he sees it and he feels it's just the way he has explained it to me is, it feels like something in his chest is just boiling up. And if he doesn't do it, he's going to explode.
That's
he just has to do it.
Yeah, that's how Elijah is. And Elijah tells us all the time, with learning how to even handle his anger. He's I know what I'm supposed to do. He knows what he's supposed to do. But something inside him is telling him not to do it. And he don't want to do it. And he gets it, yeah. That's just the way it is. I can tell him, don't go over and do that. And he'll go over and he'll do it. But that's with any of them, really. I shouldn't say just him. That's with any of them. I tell them not to do something and they're going to go do it anyways.
They get it in their heads and that's it.
Like today, Chloe got the bright idea. Oh my God. So we have dogs next door. We have 3 dogs. And there's 2 dogs next door. And we have a fence. And it's a wooden fence. And so today they were outside playing in the yard. And Lillian's out there. And Lillian decides, I want to climb over the fence because I want to look at the dogs. Now, mind you, it's a tall fence, okay? Yeah. So instead of Chloe, who's 10 years old, say, Lillian, I don't think that's a good idea. Maybe we should not do that. She says, okay, and they both do it. Yep. So now Zoe goes out there. my 15-year-old, well, she's 10 going on 20, I should say. She goes out there and she says, "What are you doing?" She screams, "What are you doing?" And Gordy goes running out, and I come, and then you're like, "They were climbing over the fence." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, if you would have fell over the fence, I don't know about them dogs. I don't know if they're friendly. Well, they could have bit you. I don't know these. You can't be doing stuff like that. It's like, what were you guys thinking? Just like, and even another.
Can't resist temptation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And they know they're not supposed to go. They're not supposed to climb over the fence. I've told Lillian, I don't even know how many times to get down, not to climb the fence. And then another time, Chloe went out. We have our hose is on the side of the house. So she thought it was a great idea to go on the side and get the hose because it was real hot out. Go on the side, get the hose, and just open up the gate, number one, to get to the front of the house, which is on the side there. And she went on the side, but it's in the front. And she knows she's not allowed. Nobody's allowed out in front of the house without us out there. And they went to town with the hose. Now, she managed to get all them involved. Like, come on, this is fun.
Usually the leader, yeah.
Oh, yeah. She got them all to come, and they all did wrong. And they're all like, "Chloe made us do it." No. She didn't make you do anything.
Yeah, you saw she was having fun, and you had to join in.
Exactly. I'm like,
but that's it. That's just it. They can't resist temptation, and they take unnecessary risks.
Yeah.
All the time.
All the time.
Bryson is like my leader of unnecessary risks half the time. This boy will be like, they're doing their little scooter races. I'm like, do not go in the street with that scooter. Okay. All of a sudden, I hear beep, 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 beep.
He went on the street.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, I'm fine. I'm 12. I'm like, no, Bryce, you might be 12, but you can still get hit by a car.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But that reasoning, his reasoning is, I'm 12. I'm old enough to do this. He's not thinking, oh, I might get hit by a car.
Yeah.
It doesn't even go through his head.
No, they don't think.
And we're just like, oh my gosh. And people around are like, what is wrong with that? And I'm like, he can't not do it.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I gotta do this. I'm a grown up now. That's
that's the way they think. And they think, oh, I'm old enough. I can do it. I'm fine. I can handle that. I can do this. I can do that. No, you can't. And it's just like, I don't know how many times, I mean, we sound like broken records basically because we just keep saying it over and over and over again. They just don't get it. They don't. And the therapist keeps telling me, they're not going to get it. You got to pray and hope that they're going to get it when they get old enough. She's like, but right now, they're still kids. They're not going to get it. And that's the other thing with ADHD is that
having ADHD doesn't help.
There's a lot of risks. They and ADHD kids like to take risks. They're risk takers.
100%.
Yep.
Without thinking of what could happen afterwards.
Nope.
Bryson's the definition of, I'm going to do this and find out what happens later. I'm just like, Bryce, doesn't this bother you that you do these things and you get in trouble? And he's like, well, I don't think that I'm going to get in trouble when I do it. And then I do it, and then I say, uh-oh, Mom's going to be really mad at me. So, he knows, it's wrong, but in the moment, it's not.
Yep. Yeah.
So, it's like a slower process.
Yeah.
In his
it
mind.
Is. Yeah.
He does it, and then it hits. Oh, damn it, I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a little too late, And then they got to face the consequences. And that's what my therapist is always telling them. You make those decisions, you have to face the consequences. So what's going to be your consequence?
That's a huge trigger point.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And they don't want to hear about consequences because it's that's the worst thing ever because they're like, okay, what are you going to do? Well, what do you think I should do? That's what I tell them. I'm like, what do you think Mom and Dad should do? How should you be punished? Should we take away your tablet for a week? Should we, what should we do? Should you go to your room? How, and I let them tell us. And then if I think it's good enough, then I'll let it go. Yesterday, because Elijah hasn't been doing good the past couple of days. He's been triggers off the wall. I don't know what's going on. So yesterday he was really bad. So he tells me it started in the morning from when he woke up. When that's how it usually starts. And it usually doesn't stop till he goes to bed. So when he got up, it started with one thing. So then the day went on, another thing, handled that problem. Then there was another thing. So then finally, I think he got to the point where he was like, I think I'm really making mom upset and dad, and I think I better stop. So he comes up to me, he says, do you want to make a deal? I'm like, what deal? And he's like, well, he's like, if I'm good for 2 weeks, I'm like, that's 14 days, right? He goes, okay, 10 days. He lowered it from 14 to 10 already. He's negotiating. He's like, all right, so 10 days, he goes, I'll be good. He goes, and if I'm good and I don't get in any trouble and I stay good and I'm not mean to anybody and I'm good, will you give me $2? And I said, sure, that's a bet.
Reasonable.
I'll do that. Sure, why not? I tell you, not even an hour later, he's already negotiating again.
Yep.
Okay? Because it's eating him up inside because he probably got mad at someone and I didn't know what was going on, the circumstance. And he walked away and was able to keep himself calm because he was calm enough to come to me and say, well, Mom, you think maybe, if I get upset once, it's okay? I'm like, oh, no. No, that's not how this works. No. I'm like, no, you can't get upset at all. He's like, well, that's going to be really hard. I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's the point, is to show you that you can handle it. And I know you can. You started this. You came up to me. You made this agreement. Now we got this agreement. So now you have to follow it through. So now we're going to see. So now we're on the second day. He did get a little bit upset today. And I said, well, it's start over, right? He's like, oh, no. I'm like, oh, yeah, we have to start over now. Day 1 is starting again. I'm like, he's like, but I was already good for the other half. I'm like, okay, you get a quarter of it, okay? A quarter. That's as far as I'm going. Because it's like, you're not going to, because I know he can do it. I know it. It's just he has to
Bryson does those same things with me. Like, if I do this, can I get V-Bucks for my Fortnite game? And I'm like, yeah, if you can get to it. But, like, Bryson's whole thing is, like, if he breaks what he's promised he's going to do, it's not, oh, this is going to get taken away now. It's, I think I get a second chance, right? I'm like, no, there's no second chance.
They always think there's a second chance. I could get a second chance. I'm going to get a second chance.
Like I swear to God, it's his default mode. He does something, and I'm like, okay, Bryson, well, that was it. He's like, no. What about a second chance? I'm like, you've got like 100 chances in this week. Like, what is this?
How many chances do you think we're going to get?
Wheel?
Yeah, exactly.
What is happening?
I know. It's ridiculous. Now, does anybody else have ADHD in the house besides Bryson?
Hunter has ADHD.
Oh, he does. Okay. And how old is he?
He does, yes. But he is 11.
Okay.
Him and Bryson, though, completely opposite forms of ADHD.
Okay. Well, they say there's different forms. Yep. So what type of ADHD is he?
He's a troublemaker.
Oh, okay.
So Bryson's a combined type. So he's inattentive and hyper impulsive.
Okay, so he's both. Okay.
Yes. Hunter is more hyper impulsive.
Okay.
So Hunter is like a busybody.
Yeah, that's how Shay is. Yeah.
He can get moody, but nothing like we see with Bryson. Hunter likes to follow, like, at least, so because he lives in 2 different households, his mom says, like, he does this and this at my house, and then we're like, well, he doesn't do that here, or vice versa.
Right.
So I think it just depends. Like, kids are always worse for their mothers, they say.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of that. Like, when Hunter's here, he is pretty neutral.
Okay.
Like, we definitely see his days where he's, like, moody.
Right.
You can tell before he gets his medication, he's very, very chatty. And you're like, oh, slow down. Like,
yeah. That's Chloe. Chloe's very chatty.
He's always rolling on the floor. And,
yeah.
He can't sit still. So that's Hunter's ADHD. Hunter's extremely smart.
Yeah.
Gets honor roll.
Yeah.
He gets along with pretty much anyone.
Yeah.
He's in our house. Uh-huh. He's just so, like, neutral with everyone. Like, he does not like to argue. Does want to over. Bryson is like, I'll argue all day. Yeah. I don't care if I get punished. So it's like we get like both sides.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a weird person, but they get along so well.
Well, that's probably because he doesn't like to argue, And like if Bryson does start, he probably is able to de-escalate it a little bit.
Bryson doesn't argue with him. It's the
Oh,
only
well,
person in the
that
whole
he doesn't
household
argue with.
that he gets along with. Like, they will sit in their room and hang out for hours, and there won't be a single argument.
Wow.
Bryson cannot do that with anybody else.
Wow.
They have such an amazing, like, for not being blood related, their relationship is just, like, you would think that they were like twins and they have like this bond
Well, that's
with
cool.
each other. Like, I think it's a lot of, they feel like because they both struggle with ADHD that they have someone that understands what they're feeling.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like they always know that they can talk. Like, they talk about stuff together that they would never talk to like us about.
Oh, okay.
I hear their little chats in their rooms at night,
Yeah.
Talking about like the meaning of life essentially in their bedroom with each other.
Yeah.
Like, there's just such a trust factor with them because they both struggle. They know the struggle. They can relate to each other.
Yeah.
And it's really nice that they have each other.
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
And for being so opposite, it's hard. It's like just hard to believe because
well, they so say opposites attract. Opposites attract. Yeah. Yeah.
They neutralize each other. I think. Because Bryson and my youngest, Leighton, they're so like that. It's like just a collision of force.
No. Yeah.
They're fighting from like the time they wake up till the time they go to bed, and every minute in between.
That's my house all day long.
Nonstop. Literally all day long. My parents are even just like, this is wild. Yeah. I've never seen kids argue so much in my life.
Mom says the same thing when she comes here.
A lot of like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Constant.
It's a lot of the age difference, the gender difference, I think, and the personalities being so different. Now, Leighton has grown up with Bryson her whole life, and she mimics behaviors that she sees.
Really?
So she acts like Bryson.
Oh.
And we're like, now we don't know if this is...
Well, now she's a lot younger, too.
Right. Like, is she mimicking these behaviors, or do we need to take her for an evaluation?
Yeah, that's something to watch out for. Yeah. Yeah.
And we already know she's, anxious.
Right.
All the time. She's just a very anxious kid, but she's also one of these kids who can't sit still either.
Yeah.
So now me and my husband are like, we're going to watch her. But it presents differently in girls.
Yes, it does.
Than boys.
Yeah,
it does. And later in girls than boys.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know.
Like Elijah, when he got diagnosed with ADHD, I didn't think it was so much ADHD. Because he can sit still. He's not fidgety. But that's when I found out, being new at the whole thing, that it's not just squirming around. But see, I had the narrative that that's what it was, ADHD. Right. And my therapist was like, no, he's just the other side of the ADHD, which is a different kind. And I'm like, okay. So then but then now with Shay's all over the place. She's squirmy all the time. Like, I had to get her one of those wobble chairs for when we do school, because she cannot sit. Like, she's very smart and she's listening to me where she is focusing, but I don't think she's focusing, but she really is, because she knows the answers. Yeah. So but if I have her in that wobble chair, she can wobble around, she can move around, and I know it's okay and that she is paying attention. Mm-hmm. Where Lillian is just out in outer space. She's like, I don't know where Lillian is. We call it Lillian World here in the house. Mm-hmm. Lillian's in Lillian Land, and is probably thinking about something that she's more interested in, like bugs, animals, whatever, because that's what she loves. Because they seem to, when they do get into something, though, with their minds, they can go all out for it. Like the teacher, like, even though we do online school, we still have a teacher that like helps us and stuff, and is their teacher. And she cannot believe how much Lillian knows about bugs. She's like, she's so smart when it comes to bugs. Like, I learned things that I didn't know. Like, because we got her these books, and it's all about insects, all about bugs. And she like reads it. She like really does sit there and goes through the book. She loves every concept, everything about it, and she soaks it all in. But if I was to teach her something else, she's like, I don't care about that, Mom. Why are you telling me? you know? And that's the part that worries me because I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to get this girl through middle school? Because I can't, I'm having a
Yep,
hard time with
that's our struggle right now,
elementary
middle school.
school because middle school is like way worse. I mean, oh,
Yeah.
I don't know how it's
Yeah,
going to work.
I think in middle school this year, or, he's in sixth grade. And it's like night and day with elementary school, I feel like. Like, he's the type of kid that, like, it seems like he's not paying attention, but you ask him, like, what did I just say? And he can,
He
like,
knows.
word by word tell you.
Yeah.
But he's also the other side where he will go off into outer space and just want to focus on whatever he's like. He went through a phase with Sonic the Hedgehog. Obsessed. Researched everything.
Yep.
He could tell you about every different multiverse of Sonic the Hedgehog, and he had to tell everyone about it.
Yep.
And that's what he would want to do. Like, he'd sneak, like, his Chromebook at school to, like, research whatever he was interested in instead of paying attention. So they get Chromebooks in class, and they're supposed to be doing, like, we'll say, a math thing.
Right.
They catch him, like, Googling whatever he's interested in.
Yeah.
But if you take that away from him and you're like, all right, do the math thing, he can buzz through it, get it all correct, and then he's like, can I look up my thing now?
Yeah, see what I mean? That's why I think that if he gets diagnosed with autism, I really think he's going to be, like, on the lower spectrum because he's so smart. Because that's how Elijah is, too. Because Elijah, like, he can zip through. He just wants to get done with school and be done. And he can get through it. He's like, all right, can we get it over with? That's how he tells me. Can I get it over with now because I really want to be done? I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's person at home, but at school, that's totally opposite.
Oh, it's different. Like, it's different when they're at school, yeah.
Yeah, with COVID, when we did, the virtual learning, he wanted to, like, all right, let me just get this done and I'll go off and do whatever. And if he sits with me, he can do it.
Right.
Zero problems.
Yep.
Gets through it.
Yep.
I look it over. It looks great. School.
He goes to school and it's like,
we're really struggling with him.
Mm-hmm.
Can we send this home and can you do it with him? And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Because he's more interested in whatever's happening around him. Oh, that kid's over there twiddling his thumbs. I want to see what he's doing.
Yep.
Oh, they're having some kind of conversation. I got to interject in this conversation.
Yep, that's
so
Elijah.
It's like so much harder.
Yeah, same. Yep.
And it didn't start till middle school.
Yeah. Oh, middle school. See, no, Elijah was doing elementary school because he would, like, they would give him the paper to do and he would be able to do it. And it's just like, I don't even know how he's paying attention because he was off doing something else and I was talking and I'm like, my therapist even says this too for the kids. She says, school, it's good for kids and great and everything, but they don't need to be there for 6 hours. They really don't. Because a lot of it is just too much for these kids and it's too much. They want to do the work and they want to be done. They don't want to be sitting there for all them hours unless it's something fun, which most of the time it's not, let's face it. And they're just sitting there listening to the teacher lecture, at the front of the class. And, if you don't get these creative teachers that are like in the classroom and they're like actually, making it fun, making it a game, doing stuff like that, then that's different. But you don't always get those kind of teachers. So you don't know what you're going to end up with, and it's really hard. Right. And that's why I just couldn't do the school thing anymore. But I already told you that last time, so I won't go into it again. But, like...
I feel that way, though, too. I think the hours at school could definitely be shortened. There's a lot of things that I don't think should be mandatory.
Yeah.
Like, at least at our kids' school, they take, like, all these extracurriculars. They have, like, Brayson's number one thing he hates is they do dance.
Oh.
He has no interest in doing that. Not just because he's a 12-year-old boy and most 12-year-old boys
I could see.
care less about dancing.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's like not very coordinated in the first place. Like he has had occupational therapy for that, for motor skills.
But that's something that they shouldn't have to do in school. I'm sorry.
Right. And we finally just came to like an agreement within the last month that he won't have to do it anymore. But he's been doing it all year, and he's been so triggered in that specific class.
Yeah, see?
That I'm like, we should have pulled him a lot earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Like, why
not
are
good.
we forcing kids, any kid, it doesn't have to even be a
Yeah,
kid with,
any kid. Mm-hmm.
issues, they shouldn't be forced to do something
No.
that they absolutely hate.
Yeah, no.
Like,
Mm-mm.
why are they not allowing kids to sign up for what they want to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if a kid wants to do art
Like,
and
remember when we
walking,
were in school?
sure.
Like, I don't know. I know I'm older. I'm older than you, but when I was in school, the girls did home ec and the boys did workshop. That's what we did.
Yeah.
We had our
In my
separate.
school, we had to pick
Mm-hmm.
what we wanted to
Yeah,
do.
exactly.
And girls could take technology or shop, or they could take home ec and
See?
child development or whatever
Yeah,
it was.
why can't they
They
be
don't want
doing
you to do
that?
that.
I don't understand that. That's so stupid. They should be
Spanish
letting
is
them do.
another one.
Yeah.
Bryson can't speak Spanish because it's not something that interests him.
I don't think it
And if
interests
it
many
doesn't
kids.
interest him, he's down.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to participate. He's going to be disruptive because it's not interesting to him.
Yeah.
And then, you get all these phone calls, well, he did this, this, and this in this class. And I'm like, because he hates the class.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm like, stop putting him in an environment where, he's triggered by things that he dislikes.
Yeah.
He's going to have, like, an explosion.
Yep.
That's just what it is. And if you, as a school, can't understand this, then maybe you shouldn't be working at a school.
Yeah.
Because, in my opinion, if you're a teacher, you need to understand every kind of kid, not just these kids that fit in this little box.
Oh, yeah.
There are kids that are outside of this box, and you need to understand those kids too.
Absolutely.
And schools really need to, like, change how they're doing things because there's so many more kids that are diagnosed these days. They need to have a set path for, like, kids that do fit in the box and kids that don't.
Yeah. Now,
I don't understand why that's so difficult.
Yeah, and then another thing when I was growing up is we had classes that were Regency classes and classes that weren't non-Regency classes. Right. And the smart kids went to the Regency classes, and the ones that weren't that smart or just didn't like, learning that high level, right. Of intensity were in the other class. And I think that that's what they need to go back to. I really do think that they need to go back to old school because it worked, I think.
Yeah.
And a lot more
and
kids.
Shorter days. Kids don't need to be in school for 8 hours.
It's too much.
I don't even like to work for 8 hours.
I know, it's too much.
My kids don't want to sit in class for 8 hours.
No.
And, like, really, if they're not learning the basics, ELA, math, science, social studies.
Right.
Why isn't that a choice? Why can't we send our kids to just do the basics and not have to do all this extra stuff? Like, I get, like, music and art is very beneficial to developing brains.
Oh, yeah.
But not everybody's brain develops the same.
No.
If you have a kid that has ADHD, that might not be beneficial for them. That might, like, Bryson has ADHD and, as a cause, has sensory issues.
Yeah.
So music and dance is disruptive to him.
Right.
He can't handle it like that.
That bothers him. It bothers him. Yeah.
He shuts down.
Yeah.
So again, because they don't develop the same, and because there are illnesses that these things can trigger and make worse.
Yep.
They shouldn't be forced to do it.
Exactly. And you know what the weird thing is though is that even with the online school, like now elementary all the way to 5th grade, they only have to take language arts, math, science, and social studies. They don't have to take any of the other stuff. There's no gym. You don't have to have none of that. So, but when we get to the middle school, the online homeschooling, you still have to take because you got to start establishing those credits to get you prepared to go to college, get you prepared for high school, all that stuff. So they're going to have to take it, my kids, whether they want to or not. But at least they have like computer science. There's a whole slew list. And they could take what they're interested in. Like they have coding classes. They have all sorts of different things. And I just wish that the schools, the public schools, or even the private schools had these other classes available for kids like our kids, who need these other stuff that they're interested in.
And I think that I hear constantly is like, well, you don't know until you don't try. Well, guess what, Miss Lady? You do have a kid that has sensory issues. I know if he tries, it's going to be worse.
Yeah. exactly.
So thank you.
Yes.
But no thank
Yeah.
you.
And that's what they try to tell you, and that really bothers me because it's like I used to tell, I used to sit in
Or
those.
you know they're not going to like it if they don't try it.
Yeah.
Because I know my kid. I
Yeah.
birthed my child.
Exactly.
I raised my child.
Exactly. They
You
think they
my
know them
child for
more.
a few hours a day.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. That's what
Like,
was
don't
happening
tell
to me.
that I don't know what my kid does and
Yeah.
doesn't like.
Yeah. That's what was happening
Absolutely
with
not.
me. I was like sitting in those meetings and I was just like, they're trying to tell me about my kid. I'm like, you don't know my kid. You don't know.
Exactly.
You have no clue.
And half the teachers that are talking to you about that are not teachers that are in the classroom with them all day.
No, they're not.
They see them for 1 or 2 hours a day or in passing in the hallway.
It's the school psychiatrist.
Oh, you must fit into this class.
It's the school psychiatrist. It's the assistant principal. It's not even the principal. It's the assistant principal. It's the guidance counselor. It's those people who hardly ever see them, who don't even.
Right. They spend 30 minutes a week with them.
Exactly. It's like they have no clue.
You don't know them.
No, they don't.
And a guidance counselor, that's not a real counselor to begin with.
No, they're not.
No. And I'm sure that'll offend a lot of people.
No.
When it comes down to it,
I've dealt with plenty of them. Yeah. No, I've dealt with plenty of them and they didn't. And everything. And then I don't like when you sit there as a parent and then they talk down to you. Like, they're so condescending.
Right. I'm not a child.
Exactly. It's like,
I think that's it's so frustrating that they sit there and they're like, you're just not doing this right. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you don't live with my kid.
Oh, it's always the parents' fault. They always think it's the parents' fault. That's who they think it is. That's who they blame. Because as soon as you walk out that door, they're talking to somebody and saying, oh, well, them parents aren't doing this and this and this with their kid like they should be. You don't know my kid. That's why I was so happy that so many times that I went in for especially for Chloe, we used to be, or Elijah, we went in a lot. And I always had my therapist with me. She came to every single one of those meetings.
We brought in, this year was the first year that we brought in a specialist who focuses primarily on 5 hours and 8 weeks for school.
That's what you need.
And since I got in touch with her, I think it was back in November, our first meeting, she will go to any school meeting for him.
Oh, that's good.
And she knows all the laws. She works in the school. She doesn't let anything get past her. I can consult with her at any time, like, hey, so this is going on. Like, she'll be like, first of all, can't do that.
Yeah.
Second of all, here's the solution. Do you need me to go into school?
Yeah.
And sometimes, as parents, we do need that advocate.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like you said, you go in there and they're condescending. They try to pull a fast one over you.
Yep.
They think you don't know your rights or your kids' rights.
Yep.
So you need that advocate. Sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, thank God I found her because she had so much revise his IEP.
Yeah. Yeah, if anything I would advise, it would be to get somebody to back you up in those schools because you need them. You need them so bad.
You never know what you're going to run into. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not a specialist. I'm just a parent that has a kid. And this is how I learn. I learn as I go.
Yeah.
So I don't know everything.
No.
And I'm the first to admit I don't know everything.
Yeah, me too.
But you better be sure that you know everything because I will find someone that does.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's I have to advocate for my kid, and I will advocate until I die.
Oh yeah, and that's what I always told them at them meetings. I was like, you'll see me here in every week if I have to. I'm like, I will be here every week. I will make you drop everything you're doing, drop in all your work, and come in here and sit down with me at the table, and we're going to keep hashing it out until I get what I want for my kid, because my kid is coming to school to learn. That's what they're here for. And you all are supposed to be teaching them, no matter what they got going on with them, no matter what. I mean, I got it so far that I had somebody walking around with Chloe all day long. Somebody was walking around with Elijah all day long. But it got to the point where it was just like school was not fun for them.
Yeah, not beneficial at that point.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And that's why I was just
our school knows if you call me, I'll tell my boss or whoever, I'm like, gotta sign off for a little while because I work from home. And my boss is very understanding, like she knows what's going on.
Thank God.
And I
because there isn't many.
One that will go to that school and sit down and be like, hey, what's going on? I'll sit in the classroom next to my kid to see like, oh, well, he's doing this, and I have sat in class, and I'm like, okay, well, I want to see it.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see what is going on.
I want to see it
in the classroom.
Yep.
that you're saying that he's causing such a disturbance.
Yep.
And I have. And I sat in my classroom, and after I left, I was myself so overstimulated that I'm like, no wonder our kid was having such a difficult day. It was chaos in there.
Yeah. That's how they are in those classrooms. Wild. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah.
My head was spinning. I'm like, my kid is neurodivergent. And his head must have been exploding.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is and it's the first thing I said. I said, have you sat in that classroom? I said, because if you haven't, you need to, because that was crazy.
Yeah.
So even for a kid that doesn't have issues with their surroundings, there was kids in there struggling that I know that don't.
Yeah. It's insane.
And I'm like, Bryson is so easily triggered that the kids are like fighting over here. This kid's leaning back in the chair.
Yep.
This one's playing with the mini blind.
Yep.
I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah. And Elijah's the type of kid that he's in everybody's business. Like, he's a busybody. He's in everybody's business. He's in business that he should not even be in. It's like, you have to stop doing that because you're just getting yourself worked up and upset over something that has nothing to do with you. You know?
Bryson too. 100%.
Because it happens all the time. Yeah. All the time. It happens here at the house.
He's kind of a know-it-all. He's like, you're wrong. Like, he's listening to a whole conversation of Halloween. He'll go up there and be like, just so you know what you were just saying, that's inaccurate. Yeah. And I'm like, what? Why did you have to do that?
Yeah, I know.
He's like, because they were wrong. I said, who cares? Let them figure out. You're not the person to instruct people when they're right and wrong.
That's what Elijah does. That's what we were telling him, because he did that the other day. He was seeing something that Zoe was watching on her tablet. And all of their tablets are on a special family link. We have them on so that I can keep an eye on what they're going on, what they're doing, all that stuff. So I would know if she was doing something wrong, number one. Well, he's on there and he's like, Mom, she's on something she's not supposed to be on. I'm like, what is she on that she's not supposed to be on, Elijah? I would know. I would get notified on my phone. I would know, just like I know with you, because you do it all the time. Because he knows how to backdoor things and get into things he's not supposed to because he's too dang smart. And it's like, ugh. But yeah. And he was like yelling at her. And I'm like, it is none of your business what she's doing anyway. She isn't saying nothing to you. You're sitting next to her. You happen to see something. You think it's bad. And right away, you start yelling and screaming. Don't you think I would have known by now? I would have said something myself. Yeah. It's like, he's just right in there.
They parent their siblings. Bryson knows that too. And it drives me and my husband crazy.
Oh, it drives me
nuts. He is such a snitch.
Yeah. It's like half the arguments would not be.
The one's in her room minding her business with her door shut. He will walk past and overhear something. He's like, oh no.
Yeah.
And then he opens the door. Should you be doing that? I'm going to tell Mom. And he tries taking her phone or her tablet away from her. And like, now you're grounded. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
Now you're grounded.
You were her parent. And like, he's like, well, you need to punish her, Mom. She shouldn't be doing that. And I'm like, thank you. I can handle it. I'm her parent. And like, if I don't punish one of the other two the way he sees fit, he gets so upset.
He gets
mad.
He's
like, well, that's just not fair.
See, again,
you're not a parent.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it happens with us too. Because I'll say to we'll say something to them, or we'll handle it our way, and then it'll be like, well, that's not enough.
Right.
Excuse me?
What are you going to say?
I don't know.
Half the time, they're the ones that are usually doing something they shouldn't be doing.
It's like, oh my God.
But like, when they do it, it's totally fine.
Yeah, that's why Gordy flipped it on him the other day. Gordy flipped it on him the other day because he did the same thing with someone else. And he was like, and Gordy was like, yeah, okay, let's not mention, Elijah, how you go in your bedroom and you shut the door, right? But you're not trying to get on things on your tablet, right? You're not trying to get into things you're not supposed to, right, Elijah? We're supposed to know that, right? And he's like, I don't do that anymore. And he's like, no, you don't, because we found out about it and we fixed it. But that's what you were doing. Yeah. I mean, you know.
Oh, yeah. I'm so restrictive with things. Like, every time they want to do something, they have to send a request to me, and I have to approve it right then and there.
Yeah, us too.
And I can approve for however long.
Yeah. So you have to the one thing that we found out, though, with Elijah is that some of the apps, they were able to backdoor and get into Google. And that's where he's too smart. Like, the other ones would never figure that out.
Yeah.
My 4 girls, never in a million years would let it cross their mind. Only him. Only him.
Yeah.
And he'll find a way.
We have Apple products, so I can time limit everything.
Oh, yeah.
And I like literally will go through every single app and do every single content restriction that I can. And they haven't figured it out yet. But the one thing I will say that Apple allows them to do is hit that 1 more minute button.
Yeah,
and that irritates me.
Yeah.
Unless it hits their downtime, which we usually do at like 8 o'clock, it shuts down and like you can't.
See, I won't let them. I won't give them Apple because I give them Samsung, and the only reason because my older son, my 20-year-old, he knows a lot about that stuff, and he's like, Mom, you're gonna give them an Apple, and we're not gonna be able to keep an eye on them the way you want to. He's like, and I just don't think it's a good idea. And I'm like, okay, and I went with him. So with the Samsungs, they have the family link, which is really nice because anything I go on, I could see anything. Like if he got into Google, I can see what he typed in to look up on Google because it's always something bad. It's always something he knows he ain't supposed to be doing. He just wants to see if he could get away with it. That's all it is with him.
It is.
It really is.
That's the impulse thing.
There's like no really bad intent. There really isn't. It's just, I want to see if I could do it. I want to see if I could get away with it.
Yep. Or like they feel like they need to know everything about everything.
Yes. Like he thinks, I need to know everything there's to know about the world and what's going on. And it's like, you're a kid. Be a kid and stop.
Exactly. Like, why are we trying to grow up?
You're not 20-something years old. Please. They drive me crazy with that. It's just, but he's the only one, really. Because the girls...
Technology is bad.
Yeah, it really is. You just got to be so careful with it, with them. Especially with Elijah, we have to be careful. Not so much the girls. Like, Lillian's starting to learn a little bit, and I think it's because her and Elijah are like this. Because they're both 9, so they're like... Pss, pss, pss. And that's another thing. When I see them, like, talking quietly in the room together, what are you doing? What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't think I can't hear you because I can.
I'm separating you two.
I know, right?
Not yours.
Because it's like, I know you're talking about something that you're not. What? We're not doing nothing. Yeah, okay. Till I bust you like 30 minutes later and then you're doing it.
I'm telling you. What do you think you're talking to? We played all the games. We know all your games.
Yeah, exactly. Don't you know we used to be kids too?
Literally. I've done it, and I've done it better, my friend.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But, yeah, so, but I mean, in the gist, basically that's everything about ADHD. I mean, we talked a lot about most of the stuff. I mean, the only other thing I'll say is that because I did take some notes, as I told you, and just to like for like with us and you too, you were saying with certain foods we got to be careful because it triggers the ADHD. It can make them more hyperactive. One that I was surprised about, and then I told you and you were surprised about too, was the corn, tomatoes, grapes, and oranges. Never would have thought that.
Yeah.
But those are some foods to avoid. A big one is the red dye. We talked about that. That is a huge no-no. The other one that the therapist told me about was the therapist and the psychiatrist. It's okay to give kids who have ADHD a little bit of coffee. A little bit of caffeine is good for them. It does the exact opposite is what it does to us. It calms them down, actually, which I was shocked about that. So I do that sometimes with my kids. But when I was growing up, my parents used to let me drink coffee sometimes. So it was like a natural thing.
It's funny you say coffee because before Bryson was diagnosed with ADHD, and I had thought that maybe he had it, I had a friend say, give him some coffee and see how he reacts. I know it sounds crazy, but just like a sip of black coffee, let him try it. So I brewed coffee. I let it cool down to almost cold because I knew he wouldn't drink it if it was warm.
Right.
And I let him drink like half a cup of coffee. And that was the moment where I knew.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Because they calmed him down. He was so sad.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is incredible.
I know.
Like, I couldn't even believe what I was seeing. Like, he was just, like, cool, calm, and collected.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And, like, an hour before, he was, like just off the wall. And I was like, we have, and then I remember what she said.
Yeah, and we also, like, have to cut the sweets at a certain time because my kids won't go to sleep. They won't go to sleep.
Yeah.
It's just,
Our doctor told us too, nitrates, which is often found in like lunch meat,
oh,
can trigger.
really?
And
I
I'm
didn't know
like,
that one.
damn, because my kid loves a ham sandwich, I'll tell you.
I didn't know
So you got to
that.
be careful, like how much they get of that,
Huh.
and like the Kraft mac and cheese.
Oh, yeah, that's a bad one.
The dye in that,
It's a bad
and
one, yeah.
goldfish
Yeah,
too.
goldfish. I can't believe the goldfish. That was like, I couldn't believe that either. But like my
But
kids
that's
don't,
like every kid's favorite snack.
yeah, I know. And and then with my thing is that it's really hard for me with a couple of my kids because they're picky eaters. So like
Yeah,
Shay with her autism, she has like certain textures in her mouth she has trouble with. So like trying to get her to even try certain things is very, very difficult. So she wants to have mac and cheese. That's what she's getting because I got to make sure she eats. So there's some things I just can't avoid because I got to make
yeah.
sure she's
No,
eating. So it's like if it's not one thing, it's the other. And it's like, I just,
Layton's the same way. She has like food aversions to certain things, like anything that's like too thick in texture.
oh,
She won't eat that.
really?
She loves Kraft mac and cheese, but if
Yeah.
I make homemade mac and cheese, too thick, won't eat of it. Like
Yeah,
she hates
see?
it.
See? Yeah, it's really weird. Like Shay with the textures in her mouth, like I never understood it and now that I know more about it, but it was like, I couldn't get her to, she would eat pizza for like a week. Like a whole week she
Yeah,
would have pizza for dinner because, that's all she would have. And I have to feed her. She has to eat. So it's like
right.
you're eating pizza again then I
And
guess, right?
it's not even worth the battle.
It's
Because
not.
Layton's the same way at school. That kid will only eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Yeah, see?
She will not eat any all year long, minus maybe a couple days we may have French toast sticks. She will not eat anything. I'm like, aren't you tired of peanut butter and jelly? Nope. That's what she'll make at home for herself. All right, peanut butter and jelly. Tonight, I ordered subs for dinner. She loves ham.
Yeah.
Well, today it had like lettuce on it. They messed up. They put lettuce
Oh
on it.
no. The end of
Oh
it.
my God.
Yeah.
She like literally had a meltdown. She's like, I'm not eating that. I'm like, well, scrape it off. It's not a big deal. No, it touched the ham. I
Yeah.
can't eat it.
Yeah.
So she went in there and she made herself one of those like microwavable cups of mac and cheese. And I'm like, I like was like, I'm too tired to even argue with you.
Yeah, I know. Just whatever.
But,
Go eat
and
whatever.
sometimes like if you're getting something in your stomach, I don't even care what it is.
Yeah, I
You
know.
want to eat a box of goldfish before bed?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
go to bed.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not worth the argument. It's not worth it. It really isn't. Like
No.
and like with Shay, that is the one that I have the most trouble with eating. Her well, no, I shouldn't say that. Chloe is too. Chloe doesn't eat good. Like Chloe loves to eat. That is her favorite thing to do. She eats too fast. That's one of her problems. She like it downs it like the food's gonna disappear or it's gonna go somewhere. And I'm trying to
Yeah,
teach her to slow down. And I told her, I said, even the psychiatrist said, you may have to give her little portions and then give her so that she gets to know that, okay, I'm gonna get more if I ask. You know what I mean? Because
Is
she's
she on a stimulant?
yeah.
So that could be half of it too.
I
Is
think
she
it
like
is.
so does she get the stimulant in the morning?
Yes.
So I found that with Bryson, same thing. Wants to eat like it's gonna disappear. But in the morning when he first gets that stimulant, not as hungry. But then when
Oh,
it
I'm
starts
gonna
to
ask
wear
her about
down,
it.
it's like he hasn't eaten in a year. He just like
Oh.
he's like do you
Oh,
know
then I
the
wonder
video
if
game
that's
Kirby?
yeah.
Where they like ingest and everything, that's like Bryson.
Yeah,
As
that's
soon as
how
that wear down a little bit, he's gotta eat so much food and I'm like, oh my God.
yes, that's how she gets. And she'll be like a little
Yeah.
mouse, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Chloe, slow down. I'm
Yeah,
worried it's
I'll take
gonna lead to
one
all
bite
kinds
of
of
my food and he's done with his whole plate. And I'm like,
yeah.
did you taste it?
Well, that's why. Well, that's what I do sometimes because the kids are noticing it now. Because they're like, "She's done already," and they're like still
Yeah.
eating the food. And like, I gave her food after them. We give them one at a time, and like I'll bring their food out, and then I hand hers last because I'm like, maybe that'll
It'll be finished first.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't want them to make it noticeable to her because I know she can't help it. I know she can't help it.
Yeah.
Because we've had the talk with
Bryson's
her
the same
several
way. I
times.
think it's a stimulant thing. I really do. And I've heard from our doctor that's exactly what it does, is it suppresses their appetite mostly throughout the day. And then around meal times, they're
That's
like
when it's
just on overdrive. They want to eat. And at a certain point, I think around, I want to say maybe here, because Bryson usually gets his morning meds at about 7 a.m. About 4:30, you would think like I starved the kid for last year.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Like
they act
he
like they're
just is
still
so
hungry. Yeah.
And if I don't get he could eat like a whole large pizza, like 8 slices by himself, no problem. And I have to really portion him.
Yeah.
Because he's already a big kid.
Yeah.
I'm like, Bryson, I think 2 slices is more than enough. Like, that's what I eat, and I'm a grown adult.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I don't give him more, he cries.
Aw.
He throws a tantrum.
Yeah.
He's like, Mom, I'm so hungry. And I have such a hard time believing that, because I'm like,
yeah,
Bryson, I'm full of 2 pieces.
Yeah.
And I can't understand how you are. So I don't know if it's like a mental thing, like his brain is telling him he's hungry, because there's no way he can fit that much food in his stomach and not feel sick.
Yeah.
But he really will like fight us, like, no, I'm so hungry, please, still hungry. And then like I'll put him to bed, and like an hour later he'll get up and be like, Mom, I'm so hungry again.
Oh my gosh.
Like, listen, you eat so much.
Yeah.
And I can't understand it.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that. Yeah, because it can lead into other things like diabetes. I mean, there's so much. That's what they tell me.
Well, we try
Chloe.
to offer him fruit.
Yeah.
Over, like,
yeah. Yeah. Well,
like
this is the problem. Does he eat fruit? Does he like fruit?
If he's forced to.
Yeah. See,
he will.
Chloe doesn't like any fruit, and I think that she's just convincing herself that, because what kid doesn't like any fruit at all? Like, I can't even give her a banana, nothing. No fruit. Yeah. She doesn't like it. She doesn't want it. No vegetable. Hates all vegetables. So now as I have to get creative, and I have to try and figure out how to get it into her diet, because I'm like, Chloe, you can't keep eating this crazy processed, like if I cook dinner,
crap.
Yeah, she doesn't like it immediately. Like the only thing that she will eat is like lasagna. And I'm happy that I can get her to eat lasagna, because at least it's got some cheese in there, and it's got some, you know what I mean? Some meat in there, because it's like she's just like on a bad kick with bad foods. And it's just like, I don't know what to do with you.
Like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I found that it seems like it's more of a food regression, because things that she used to really enjoy, she doesn't anymore.
Yeah, see?
And I'm like, okay, like, she loves fruit. That's one thing I will give her. She'll eat any kind of fruit. Vegetables, she used to love corn, she used to love peas, she used to love green beans.
Yeah, my kids used to eat the vegetables too, and now they stopped. It's like corn, that's it.
Meat too, meat's another thing. Kid would at least try it.
Yeah.
And chicken, she's always eaten chicken. Suddenly now, we don't like chicken, but we like chicken nuggets. And I'm like, man, chicken nuggets is chicken. Yeah. She's like, it's not the same.
It's not the same.
And I'm like, but you used to like it. She's like, well, I don't anymore. And she gets very upset with us. And like, our therapists have told us, like, you're not supposed to really force them to do it.
No.
Like, gradually, like, make them take tiny little bites. If they absolutely are like, don't make them do it. And,
like, I won't make her do it either.
I think she forces herself to gag.
Yeah. Well, that's what Chloe does. That's her way to get out of it. She'll gag. And I'm like, I know she's doing it on purpose, because she just doesn't want to have it. And it's like, so like, I don't know. I'm just going to have to keep trying. There's nothing else I can do, because it's just.
I've spoken to my affiliate doctor. She lost like 9 pounds in a month. And she just turned 8. That's a lot of weight.
Yeah, that is. That
is.
is.
I'm telling you, there's something more going on with her. Like,
but is she getting taller?
No, not really.
Oh. Well, I don't know.
She just like got very thin, and I had noticed, because I had just recently purchased new clothing for her in a bigger size.
Yeah.
Because her other stuff was getting snug on her. Mm-hmm. And now the stuff I just purchased, she like swims in it.
Oh.
And I'm like, what happened? And then I took her to the doctor, and they weighed her, and I'm like, she lost like 9 pounds in the last month.
Wow.
And I can't figure out. I have to assume it's from the aggression of food.
Yeah.
And just not wanting to eat.
Mm.
And then that's why my husband was like, maybe we really do need to get her evaluated.
Yeah, because what if it is something else? And what if it is something with her mouth too, with textures?
Well, we took her to a feeding clinic when she was very young.
Oh, you did?
Because she would do that with things like mashed potatoes or stuffing or eggs. As soon as it would like touch her mouth, she would like regurgitate like stomach acid.
Yeah.
Because it was like an
That was
instant
Shay.
reaction
That was
to
Shay.
it.
Yep. Shay was very bad
Yeah.
like that. About a year ago, she started doing that a lot. And like she would be right to the garbage can and it would come out. And I was like, wow,
Yep.
what am I going to feed you? I was giving her like toast with Nutella on it, like just trying anything else to like just get her to get some kind of protein, something in her, that wasn't bad, because you don't want to give them all.
It's so hard.
But
And
now
so
I
many
got
of these
her,
things are
she loves
related
fruit
to
though, so that's a
autism
good
and
thing.
ADHD.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard when they're doing both because it's like, well, because you're probably pretty sure about Bryson, so like, yeah. But with Shay, it was like a big food problem for a long time. Like, I didn't know what I was going to give that kid anymore. And then she used to like McDonald's. Now she hates it. She don't have nothing to do with McDonald's.
Yeah, my kids do that too. And I'm like, man, what am I going to do? I just don't like anything.
Yeah, no.
And that's something that I think a lot of people also don't realize. The ADHD that comes with that sensory processing issue is the food aversion.
Yep.
Like, nobody, like, thinks of that. And, like, yeah, that's also an autistic thing.
Yep.
So it's a matter between how you're evaluated.
Yep. Because if it continues to go on and on and on, there's a problem. Definitely. And I would definitely get it checked out because, we didn't think about the textures in the mouth. We didn't pay no mind to it. I was just like, okay, well, it's just, she's going through a phase. That's what you say. She's going through a phase. And they were like,
that's what everyone always will say. Yeah.
And it's like, nope, it's
and
not a phase.
Parent, it's more.
Yeah, it is.
You're like, no, this isn't a phase.
It's just unusual.
Especially when they used to like it. And now they don't.
And then they don't. And then she's like, throwing it up basically, bile's coming up. She don't want it. You know what I mean? She's trying to get it out of her because she can't stand the way it feels. And they're crying. Yeah. It's just like, oh no, that's a problem. It's a problem. Absolutely. But
100%. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. But so do you want to leave it off? We'll leave it off here.
Yeah, I think this was a good place to end. Maybe next week we talk a little bit about our medication.
Yeah, good idea. Because we got into a little bit this time. Let's dive into autism. You're the autism expert with your brother.
kiddos.
No, I'm not an expert.
Mine just being evaluated. And
okay.
I would love to hear your insight on that.
Okay. Sure.
Especially now that we're going through it.
Oh, yeah.
I think it'd be very insightful to have other parents hear about that. And I think they'll really hear how similar ADHD and autism are.
Yeah. But I'm gonna also put down in the description box, anybody who watches this, I'm gonna link that video that you sent me because I really love that video. And I'm also gonna link down there all of our other platforms. So there'll be, because you're putting us on Spotify, and we're also doing TikTok. I'm just doing little bits of our podcast on TikTok if they want to go there. And also we have our Facebook group, which I've been trying to be more active with too, posting stuff on there. I put a couple posts on there. So if they want to join our Facebook group, it'll all be in the description box. We'll have the links on YouTube. This way they can go anywhere they want to go to watch us and get any type of insight, And we could put other things.
Facebook group, they can join in the conversation. There's a chat feature on there. If we have any listeners that want to hop on one week with us and share experiences, I would love to.
Yes, that would be great. Yes.
Doctors, therapists, teachers, whoever.
Yes.
Always wanting to hear insight from others.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that would be great.
They're to chat with us.
Yes, absolutely. And so we'll put all that underneath. This way they can know where to find us. And that's it, right? We're good. We didn't come up with a specific day yet of the week that we're going to be doing this. So that's why it's important to kind of go on our Facebook group, because we want to make sure that you guys are notified when we're going to be loading up the videos on Spotify or on YouTube so you guys could see them, and, let us know what you think. Yeah. And leave us comments too, because I love to hear the feedback on YouTube. I know I got a few comments last week, which was awesome. And so I love to hear the feedback because we want to know how we're doing, if we're helping, if we're not, if, you guys like hearing what you might want to hear from us that we haven't thought about yet, or talk about. So that would be great too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll leave it there. All right, Cass, it was nice talking to you, and I'll see you next week.
See you next week.
All right, bye.
Bye.